All right, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Nigga Time Podcast. I feel like it has been forever because it has been forever. Apologies on my part. It's so hard to do these things, especially with all the training and just everything in general that I got going on. But we eventually are back from like a 2 month drought. I think it might even be more than 2 months. But we have great news. A lot to talk about. We have a guest that we've had on fairly recently, but he has became, I guess, past tense, a really good friend of mine, and we're continuing to grow our friendship, especially through our similar interests. So, Zach Curtis, you don't have to reintroduce yourself, but just say hello to the people just a little bit.
Hello, and thanks for having me back, Nick. We got some exciting things to talk about on this podcast, so
I know.
I'm ready to talk about that. But yeah, we're gonna dive into some Ironman stuff, and you got a big announcement, so let's hear it.
Yeah, so big announcement. I don't even know how to start this. For those of y'all who don't know, because acronyms are a big deal, BPN, Bear Performance Nutrition, is basically a supplement company started by I guess you could say endurance athlete slash hybrid athlete slash everything to do with being a great encompassing athlete and a great person, spreading great community vibes and stuff. Founder by a guy named Nick Bear, who I've been following for a very long time. But as far as like training for goals, I didn't take that very seriously until fairly recently, a year-ish ago. And yeah, after applying multiple times for an ambassador program, I have became uh, an official BPN ambassador. So woot woot, super excited about that. Uh, but yeah, it's a crazy feeling to be a part of such a great community. Even like just instantly before and after, and it's only going to grow more. Is you just feel that energy from people who are like minded and really just want to be the best versions of themselves, and like that radiates off of everyone. You know what I mean? Especially during this Ironman prep, it can seem very isolating and easy to isolate myself because you feel like nobody really understands. You know what I mean? The people around you aren't really Ironman training on the day to day. So it can be very isolating. But in this community, it really is a family, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, man, I'm super stoked. I think I'm trying to remember our first interaction. Obviously, it was through Instagram, but I don't even know. Like, do you remember? Did you ask me anything about like was I training for an Ironman or was it right around Leadville? I think that's when we connected.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was around the time where I was just like I had just ran a marathon, my first term marathon, and it like kind of changed my life. Um, and I think this happened to me prior to making the or knowing that I made the ambassadors program. I commented on like a BPN post. I forget which one. I think it was one of the CrossFit. What is it? Wadapalooza. Yeah. And I just talked about like endurance training, and it was like how endurance training like literally saved my life and like saved my sanity. And I think that's why I reached out to you because obviously I may have been scrolling through Instagram, whatever, and seen like your bio and it said like BPN, you know? So before, like, I didn't really know like an ambassador program, what that was or anything like that. So I was just like, okay, well, this guy, and then you see like, the 70.3 Ironman finishers and stuff like that. I was like, well, I really have a lot of questions for this guy. Cause I think it was like at that point where I was getting thinking about doing my own Ironman. So I think that's what like sparked the interest in like, okay, I know what BPN is. You know what I mean? I know Zach has finished 2 half Ironmans, and I'm like, well, this is the perfect guy I would like to talk to. And obviously, realistically, you don't have thousands and thousands of followers, but you will. So it was just it was some way to connect because sometimes even like looking for like Ironman coaches and like advice online and YouTube, people are just like, they give you either no answer or they give you this like generic, not in detail kind of cloud cover answer. And you were able to help me out, which I can't even explain to you how grateful I am for that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. And like that's one thing with my platform that so backstory, when I found BPN and Nick Bear, I probably had like 400 followers on Instagram. And I mean, I think I'm scraping like 1,300 right now. So it's a big jump, but that's still, that's nothing in the world of social media, Instagram type things. But like that's one thing that I always wanted to try, especially like when I was first getting started. Like I would reach out to BPN ambassadors and like try to get in contact with them and talk with them and stuff like that. And like you said, they would either A, not respond, or B, give me like, if I had a question about training, they give me some like fluffy answer or try to sell me their course or something like that. And so like, I don't know, when people reach out to me now, I can kind of tell like, oh, you really just want to talk to me because I'm part of BPN, or like you actually care about me as a person. And I think that that's why I resonated with you so well. It's because like, you probably be like, hey man, like that's cool, you're a BPN ambassador, but like I'm more interested in, what you're doing in your day-to-day personal life. And like, I don't know, I think that that's something that is huge with, you and other people that I've connected with through BPN. It's like, you got to care about the person rather than just, the title that they have in their bio type
Yeah.
thing. So.
And I think that, like you said, that's like something that is genuinely comes from within. I don't think you can teach that. I don't think you can like learn that. It just like generally comes in within. Like, for example, this podcast. I still to this day think like, whether it's BPN, whether it's like your normal social media, your family post, you know what I mean, whatever the case may be, like there's still a realm for like mental health, uh awareness. You know what I mean? Because obviously, like I said, endurance training saved me because I grew up a gym rat my entire life. Like, I don't think there was ever 2 or 3 days where I didn't like work out, right? Gym bro, lifting weights, doing this, doing that. And
We see it.
and at one point in time, like that just wasn't enough for me. And when I say wasn't enough, that doesn't mean I wasn't like, you know what I mean, feeling good after a workout or whatever the case may be. But like mentally, I was still drowning with a bunch of traumatic stuff that, you know what I mean, do not want to release out to the public, at least not yet. But a bunch of my own life traumas. And I was like, dude, I need more for my sanity. And that's when I found the running thing and I signed up for a marathon and all this stuff. And I did this like solo. And not that like as far as like the solo thing, it just kind of happened, right? And I truly believe as a believer, like, God was pushing me into a place where I need to be. And golly, it like I said, that marathon literally changed my life. And then going into this Ironman prep and stuff, like I'm just like not, I don't even recognize myself in the best of ways. And I was already, you know what I mean, comparatively, kind of a stud my whole life. So even to like, you know what I mean, to see progress in myself, not only mentally, physically, and just every other way is like insane to me. Does that make
Yeah, for
sense? I
sure.
don't know if I'm making sense or not, but
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And like, I know that we've kind of connected offline about some of the stuff that you mentioned that you don't want to put out, but like, I think that that's the biggest reason why people get into endurance sports is because I I feel like if an average person came to me and said, "Hey, I really want to get in shape," the easiest thing for them to do is going to be go to the gym and do some curls, and like that is going to be the kickstart. But then eventually you're going to get burnt out on that. Like you're either going to get in shape or you're not going to see progress that you thought you were going to see. And so that's where like I have that same connection with you with like the endurance sports is, I was at a weird place in my life when I found, BPN and doing my first Ironman. So no, like I totally understand what you're saying. Like and especially somebody who's experienced it and, training for now my third half Ironman, like there's just something mentally that goes into training. You have a bad day at work, something happens in a relationship. It's like even though we were kind of joking when we first connected, like, man, like that ride earlier was like, it just like wasn't there. But, you have your good days and your bad days. And so, like, definitely I can understand, how this sport and this community can
Yeah.
change, your
And, and, I,
outlook on things.
and I want to give a shout out to Nick, not me, Nick Bear, because he said on, I believe it was his first hybrid episode. I can't remember exactly which episode, but I remember the exact quote. He talked about how much he loved running because it provided isolation like no other. And then how much he loved working out in a gym because it provided intensity that you can't get anywhere else. And I think my whole life I had always been like the football gym like lifestyle, that providing the running and the swimming and the biking, like that isolation with your own head really provides, maybe not through the entire workout, but at the end, a clarity due to the isolation. You know what I mean? Like no other.
For
Compared
sure.
to, you go to a gym, right? Like you said, curls, even if you're doing good workouts, deadlift, squats, etc., there's usually other people there. You're banging, blasting some music. Somebody's like, "Hey, are you done with this machine? Are you doing that?" Like, there's so many distractions,
Right.
right? And then with endurance training, it's you trying to distract yourself. And that is, for me, is so much more powerful overcoming it compared to, you know what I mean? Like, oh, there's other
Yeah.
people around me. It's a public environment. Like, I can just go through the motions for a gym workout.
So I have a perfect, I guess, story about that, the solidarity of endurance sports. So I posted on my Instagram the other day, like asking, what's your why behind anybody, like whether it's going to the gym, endurance sports, any of that stuff. And I compared it to when I did the Leadville 50 miler.
Yeah.
I was towards the back of the pack. Like, I'm not an ultra marathon runner, especially at altitude. But I was by myself for, I would say, close to an hour coming down off the third climb. And I didn't, it was just me, my thoughts. I didn't have any music, nothing. It was like, okay, you, like David Goggins always says, like, it's just you and your demons. Like, you either,
Yeah.
get up or they're gonna attack you. So, just like that mental clarity of like where your mind can actually go when you're by yourself. Because, I see people post all the time, and maybe they do, maybe they don't, but like the gym is a place where they go to clear their mind. But I feel like you truly don't understand what it's like to be, you know, by yourself unless you
Yeah.
actually experience it. And I'm not saying that, endurance sports is the only way to experience that, but like if you go to a gym where it's dead quiet and there's nothing around you, sure. But if, like you said, hey, you done with this? Or like, oh, there's somebody else squatting or grunting or just like in there, just, making you mad or something. Like, I don't know, Leadville was that one true moment of like solidarity. And I came off that mountain, and the post was I saw a cameraman and he was, taking the course pictures, and he
Yeah.
didn't say like, you got this, or like you're almost there. He was like, just remember your why. And that was all he said. He took my picture and I kept going. And so I feel like, really being by yourself and figuring out what your why is, why I love this sport and like this community.
Yeah. No, man, I really appreciate that story. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, and that's why I think you and me click so well, because we just, you know what I mean, think so similarly. And I wish, like you said, obviously you can't get everyone to sit there and go run 50 miles, but I wish people would understand, you know what I mean, the power in that, because it gives you a sense of what is actually impossible. Like, that's not even like that almost like doesn't even become a word anymore. You
Right.
know, like a year ago, if you asked me, I would have ran 26 miles. I would have told you you're crazy. Now I'm going straight into a full Ironman. Most people understand do half, but I was like, it's just too important for me personally just to
Right.
stick at the half. And that may be smart, maybe dumb, and that may be smart or maybe a mistake. But hey, we're gonna learn regardless. And you best believe if I don't finish, which is not gonna happen, but if I do get injured or something, knock on wood, happen. I'll be back again, you know what I mean, as soon as I can,
Right.
getting ready for the next one, you know?
No, for
So I'm
sure.
super
And
excited.
I feel like people, unless they do a training block or they actually do a big race like this, they don't understand that fear of failure. I put in all this work for this big race, and something that's out of your control is you
Yeah.
get a flat tire or you blow a whole rim, or God forbid you drown. Hopefully not, but
Yeah,
you
no.
never know. But no, like that's like I think why I resonate with you so well is that mindset of when the first ever endurance race that I signed up for was a half Ironman. Like I didn't even start at a 5K and work my way up.
Yeah.
And so it's just like that mindset of like, you're like, okay, I've never done an Ironman before. Let's do a full one. Like that's just
Yeah.
crazy.
So I guess it's a good segue. We'll talk a little bit more BPN going into real Ironman questions. So the prove yourself right, obviously that's the test of the season, right? I hear I want to say here at BPN, like I'm in Austin, but at BPN as us as ambassadors, obviously right now we're doing the prove yourself right model, and that's what we're doing, right? In 2023, we have a goal of a race. Something, it doesn't have to be a race, but something hard, something challenging that's going to put you in a stratosphere that you've never gone before. And obviously I'm doing the Ironman, so as well as Zach. And the crazy thing about it, this is what sparked like this, like I guess montage of what I'm about to say, is where I'm at right now and how close it is to race, like relevant 88 days, relevantly close. It's like everything in my life has to fit that puzzle to the race. And not like to an actual race, but like what I'm trying to do, as far as coworkers, friends, my community. That's why I'm so like honored with the opportunity to be a part of like BPN, because it's just crazy how like you said, that pressure of a race, the focus gets even sharper and sharper and sharper. And I think that my whole life, and I think a lot of people, even people who are like fitness, you know what I mean? Like uh guys and gals that really like enjoy the gym or enjoy CrossFit or enjoy running, if they're not doing a big specific goal, it's impossible. It's impossible to really, I guess, optimize your potential, in my opinion.
Sure.
Because,
Yeah.
and it's not the race that does it for you, it's the event that's keeping you on a focus that without it wouldn't, if that makes sense.
No, no, like that totally makes sense to me. And kind of going back to the gym analogy, like I worked out 5-6 times a week before I started endurance training, and I was probably like looks wise the most unhappy with myself. But why? Like I was going to the gym, I was doing everything I was supposed to be doing, but I had no goal. When I started Ironman training, kind of like you're saying, like there was a goal and a mindset that's something that I've never done before. It's like, okay, I have, I could let myself down, which depends on how you treat yourself. Like that could either be a big thing or a bad thing. But I like my mindset was like, if I let myself down, like I'm letting more people down other than me. And that would be the hardest part. Like all the people that supported me for the 9 months of training that I did, it was like that was, like kind of what you're saying. It's like
Yeah.
people, your coworkers, your friends, your family, like they don't truly understand it until it like probably gets closer and closer, and like you
Yeah.
become more distant when you're like, hey, like I really got, I got this goal that I want to hit. And so no, like yeah, that totally makes sense.
And then to like all the gym goers, like, daily gym goers, because I'm sure I have a lot that are going to be like, man, screw you, Nick. What are you talking about? I still love the gym. I love to lift weights, everything, etc. But I guess what I'm saying is if you're not having like, hey, we're doing like kind of like how Joe Rogan and them do like a sober October where we're trying to like jump on the scale after 30 days. You know what I mean? With a friend, a coworker, whatever the case, because that is your race day. You know what
Right.
I mean? Instead of just like, oh, I have this workout plan, I'm doing this. Like, no, you gotta create a race day no matter what you're doing, whether that be
Right.
lifting weights, endurance training, etc. Sorry, my dog is she wants attention. She's a husky.
Yeah.
She's a talker.
Um,
But
but no,
yeah,
like what you're saying is, I'm sure that you can find two similar people, in endurance and bodybuilding. I've never done anything with bodybuilding, so like I couldn't, or physique type stuff, so I can't really talk to it. But I'm sure that if you talk to somebody who's training for a physique show or a bodybuilding show, their nutrition is going to be way more on point than somebody who's just a daily gym goer. And their training is going to be more structured than just a daily gym goer. And so, like, I don't know, is that kind of the connection that you're trying to make? Is like,
yeah, but
if you have
I guess
you
what
have
I'm
a
saying, you could
goal,
still be a daily gym goer, but I'm saying if endurance training really isn't something you want to pursue at all, which I recommend it should be, um, I totally understand that because I still love lifting weights and being in the gym. What I'm saying is like create your own race day. So like
for sure.
if you are an everyday gym goer and you don't plan on being in a bodybuilding like show or anything like that, that's totally fine. But it's like, okay, well, I know my other friend is also like, you know, a everyday gym goer. Let's see who can slim their waist an inch. I'm like, that's like just a random example, but you know what I mean? 30 days. Are
Yeah.
you ready? And
Right.
then you write down, day 1, day 2, day 3, and leading up to your race day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So like an accountability person, essentially.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
not necessarily an accountability person, but just a something you can like something tangible that you're working towards
Right.
is what I mean by your race day. Compared to
Yeah.
I'm an everyday gym goer. Today I have back, today I have this, today I have that. Okay, but what are you going for? Are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to gain muscle? You know what I mean? Are you trying to just, maintain? Like there's so many, you know what I mean, different things that, like you said, you have to have specific goals because small goals create big goals. And if you're
For
just
sure.
going to go and be healthy, I don't think that's enough. And anybody who's either a high level bodybuilder or just an everyday fitness goer should know that you need those specific goals to really optimize your potential, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Um,
Just like don't mean to interrupt you one more time, but it's kind of like uh an endurance athlete, but that doesn't race. You know what I mean?
right.
Like
Yeah, like
you
that wouldn't
wouldn't
make
you
any
wouldn't
sense.
be able you could do it, but you wouldn't be able to optimize your true potential because you could do every single workout, do an Ironman prep training, and not do the Ironman, or do it but like not do it race day, but it wouldn't be as optimal as the pressure, you know what I mean? And like you said, the accountability and just the things that make a race day tangible to you.
Right. Right. Yeah, and there's always, if you're not competing in that show or doing that race, there's always that in the back of your mind, like, oh, I can slack a little bit. I'm not really doing this. I'm just kind of along for the ride. So no, yeah, like
Yeah,
that totally makes
that's
sense.
what I'm saying. That
Um,
optimization gets cut in half. Yeah.
yeah, I know that you brought up some questions before about like Ironman training. Is that something that you want to kind of talk about? Because I
Yeah,
feel like
man.
if
I keep
you're
getting
you're
myself off track because I feel like you and me just have good chemistry.
no, you're
But
good.
yeah, so I guess we could start from the little actual beginning. Um, I'm kind of aware, obviously, like check-ins are like 3 days before. I know for ours, check-ins like Thursday and whatnot. My first question, I guess, would be like on the swim. Uh, because I know there's gonna be a lot of people. This is what another thing I'm like getting angst out about because obviously this is my first one. I I'm gonna pace myself. I'm not gonna go too hard, but I also know that like I experienced this with my marathon, and I know a marathon and a full Ironman are two totally different things. I'm totally aware of that, but I experienced this where everyone looked like they were supposed to be there for my marathon, and I felt so out of place. Like, what are you doing? Right? You don't belong here, which you try not to do, but it's just natural, especially, for a first timer. And I found myself like, I wouldn't say backtracking, but like, okay, so, so a few people, I was talking to a few people at a few aid stations during the marathon, and they were like, yeah, it's your first one. Oh, okay, you're going a fast pace, kind of slow down a little bit. And I'm like, well, dude, I've been like training for this. But I didn't say that initially. Initially, I just slowed down because somebody told me, because this was their, 15th race, whatever the case may be. So for the swim, not so much for the run and stuff, I'm just using that analogy. What do you recommend? Because obviously, right now, my gut tells me middle to the back of the pack, so I can really like get a feel for things. But I also don't want to start swimming and then realize, oh, Nick, you've actually been training hard, and these people in front of you are kind of like holding you up.
Right.
You know?
So, and I'll preface this with I've only done the half distance, not the
Yeah.
full. So obviously take everything I say, but then like
Yeah. Double.
think that you got to double it. So so I've done 2 races, but I've only swam one time. I did a race in Florida and the swim got canceled. So we just started on the bike. So the first race that I swam, the way that they set it up is obviously you're going to be training. You're going to know relatively a pace that you're shooting to hit. So they'll have groups like pacer groups of, hey, you think that you're going to swim the 2.4 miles in an hour. So here, like,
Yeah. Okay.
get next to these people with an hour, or you think that you can swim it in 50 minutes, or whatever your time is. Like, they'll have kind of groups that you can go in, and then you're swimming in a lake, you said.
Yeah.
That's where Ironman Texas is. So I'm assuming that it's going to be a rolling start to where, like,
Oh yeah,
I swam in a lake as well. So you'll probably like line up on the beach or somewhere like where the lake is, and every 5 seconds, a group of people will fire off. And so, I know that we've talked about this before, but when I first got in the water on my first swim, I panicked. Like, I was swimming for 9 months.
Sorry, don't mean to laugh, but
laugh at me.
I could totally tell how it happens to a lot of people. I feel like it's just part of like your Ironman like initiation.
Yeah, right. Initiation, that's a good one. So, like, I kind of put myself in that corral of slower swimmers because I really didn't know. There's one thing to swim in a pool, 1.2 miles, but once you actually get out in the open water, it's a lot different. I always tell people the first thing that went through my mind was, okay, I can't touch the bottom of this lake if I get tired. And, if I go down, like, there are people. So the good thing, I didn't know this, but anybody who is afraid of swimming, there are people on paddle boards and boats and kayaks that you can kind of swim up to if you get tired and hold on to, or they're there to keep an eye if somebody goes down, like hopefully they can catch them type thing. So the safety definitely is priority for Ironmans. I will say that I never felt unsafe on a course. So that would be my biggest advice, is kind of your first one, I would shave a little farther on like the slower side that you think. But once you're out there, I mean, it's a lot different than being in a pool. Like, you're not in a lap. So if people are going to swim past you and you're going to swim past people, just put your head down and swim, and just try to avoid the slower people if they thought that they were going to go a little faster than what they're doing. So, but obviously, like, race your own race. And that's what I tell people. I don't know. I would assume there's probably close to 1,000 people that are going to be racing this race.
About that, yeah, about 1,000.
If you think that you're good enough to be one out of 1,000, like, kudos to you. Like, I hope that you do, but I would just go for a finish if that's just
no, that's
the
goal. The goal is to finish.
Yeah, right.
Like that, so, no doubt. I have no intention like on, hey, this time. No, we're just trying to make the 2 hours and the 17 hours total.
Right. Yeah, so I was gonna say like don't be the front of the pack if you aren't trying to be, in first place. So does
Yeah.
that make sense?
For sure. I'm not there yet, man. Maybe in a couple
Right.
years. Maybe in a couple
Hopefully
years.
you're gonna
But
win worlds one day.
I appreciate that. I was gonna say too, did you at all use the people on the kayaks or the pedal boards or anything like that when you did?
I did not, and I would say like there was no shame in the people I saw doing it. Like they were out there in the middle of the lake, so kudos to them for even signing up for it. But so I freaked out when I got in the water, like panicked, and so I flipped on my back, and I was like kind of just kicking, and my head was out of the water the whole time, so I was just trying to like calm down a little bit. But I had my like everybody had wetsuits on because
Yeah.
it was a wetsuit legal race. So like once I felt the comfort of the wetsuit kind of like holding me up a little bit, I flipped over and I just put my head down and like really got into that groove of, hey, this is just another training swim, and eventually like the way ours was, it was like a big loop. So I was like, oh, like, I'm already at the loop part to come back. And like that's when in my mind I was like, I'm halfway done with this swim. Like, I started off freaking out and like I'm already,
Yeah.
halfway done with this. So no, like definitely no shame if you have to hold on, and especially you. I mean, you're going 2.4 miles, so you might get tired,
Yeah.
and there's no shame in that.
So another question. And this is my last swimming question. With swimming, what was I gonna say with that? Oh, how different? Like I said, I'm gonna do open water swim probably around March timeframe, spring break. And that's only a month out, just because of like I said, there's a lake here, but it's not, like the game wardens here are a lot different. You can't just like nobody's really on that lake. So I don't know if there's something in it or whatever the case, doing my research. But obviously there's lakes outside of Dallas that are pretty close to me. And I'll have my uncle there who has a boat who would really like, you know what I mean? Like when I do my open swim, just right now it's not feasible. But I wanted to ask, like, obviously doing laps in the pool, right? I'm not like staying under and like doing a Michael Phelps like roll over and then like pushing off. I'm minimum pushing off the walls and stuff like that, but I do come up and stop. How did that translate, that pool swimming lap style, to like, hey, I'm just in open water?
Yeah. So I made a rookie mistake of never swimming in the open water until race day. So I think that that's probably what freaked me out too. But it was it was a lot different. I'm not gonna lie, because the pool that I trained in was 25 meters. So obviously every 25 meters I was either touching the ground or kicking off the wall or having to turn around. So it I wouldn't say that it like is gonna affect you a lot, but it is a lot different. Like your mindset of
Is it just
when you
more like psychological though than like
yeah.
actual
So
physical?
yeah, because like I'm assuming you swim in a lap pool, so there's a
Yeah,
line
yeah,
on the
yeah.
bottom of the
25
pool.
years, yeah.
Yeah. So like, okay, you're in a lake. You don't have a line that you're looking at on the ground. There's no really end goal of like a wall. So yeah, it's definitely like psychological. But the good part is that, and
You're not
is there a
stopping
half?
and going.
Right. Is there a half Ironman in your race, or is it just a full?
I think it might just be a full, to be honest. I'll have to
Okay,
double check. I'm pretty sure it's just a full.
gotcha. Because my first race, like the half or the full started, and then a couple hours later the half started, but the swim course was still the same. But anyways, what I was trying to get at is
Yeah.
every 100 meters there's a buoy, so like you kind of
Yeah,
know like,
yeah.
hey, I forget what is it like. I know it's
36.
2,000 yards. Is it 36 meters? No,
That's
3,600
for
meters.
2 miles. So what, like 38, 30, right?
I don't know. I don't want to look dumb trying to do math on here, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like every 100 meters is a buoy, so that's
Yeah.
kind of like your wall when you're swimming, like in a lap pool. Is like, hey, I hit this buoy. Okay, I'm 100 meters down. Hit this buoy, 100 meters down. So yeah, swimming it was scary, but I think once you get in there, like it'll totally be fine. But I thought of this when you're asking one of your swimming questions at the start. when you were kind of like, am I going to fit in, like imposter syndrome type thing? I had to laugh. I bought a $40 wetsuit on Amazon a week before my race. And I was waiting in line with, all the bougie people around me wearing their Rokas and their blue 75 and all the big brands. So like, don't worry about it. Like, there were people that didn't even have wetsuits. So
Yeah.
go out there and have fun.
Well, I appreciate that, man. It means a lot. And like I said, I know that now, but I think it took and that's another thing. So I'm saying maximize potential. I could have just trained for a marathon and ran it like right on the freeway, like not the actual freeway, but the service road that I
Right.
run on. And I would not have learned when I talk about optimizing your potential, the stuff I learned unless I ran that race, right? And I had a conversation with a guy who had ran like 90 marathons before. He was like, "This is one of the hardest ones in Texas. I would slow down if I were you." And what did I do? I slowed down for about 5 minutes. And then those thoughts, the isolation we talk about, I was like, dude,
Right.
I looked at my pace and I was like, I've been training for this. What are you doing? You
Yeah.
know, and I took off. It's like you said, like it takes an actual event. It doesn't have to be a race, but something with a competition or you know what I mean, that puts pressure on the individual to
Right.
maximize what they have.
And I'll say too, with like both Ironmans that I did, there is music blaring at the transitions, like when you're getting into the water, like at the finish line. And, kind of what you're saying is you could go out there and run a marathon for the hell of it on, your at your local park or on the freeway or wherever. But like, you're not going to get that environment of race day. You're not going to get that buzz of everybody being around you. And like, kind of contradicts what we said about like the isolation thing earlier. But it's definitely a lot different because like you are isolated, but you also get that environment of like, there's X amount of people around me who are going through the same thing that I'm going through, but silently. And
Yeah.
I think that is like, the biggest like mental game is like, hey, all these people, are about to get in the water for the first time. And you don't know that, but like, they're probably going through the same thing that you're going through. And so, yeah, dude, like Ironman race day, like that is what got me hooked. The vibe, like you're going to have so much fun. I like,
Yeah,
if
I've
I
heard
lived
it's
closer to
electric.
Texas, I'd be at the race for you. I'd be like pumping you up, dude. I'd be like, let's go.
That's awesome. I really appreciate it. Well, I definitely they still have the app, right? So you don't have to be there, Like you could track me, right? While I
Yeah, I'll
do it.
track you. Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. That's awesome.
When is it in
The 22nd,
April
22nd,
22nd? Okay, cool.
Saturday.
Yeah, I was trying to do the math. Gotcha. And mine's May 21st, so we're like a month apart from each other.
I know, man. We're getting it. So onto the bike, man, was to be honest, that's what I think. I don't want to say scared, but like that's what I'm most anxious about, simply because of just like not my legs giving out or even riding a bike, just literally the amount of time I will be sitting down on a bike.
For sure. Um, so and Ironman people out there probably get mad at me when I say this, but for your first one, like you're gonna come out of the lake and assuming you're wearing a wetsuit, like you're gonna take it off to about your waist, run up to the transition, like dude, just soak in the moment. Like there's gonna be, like I said, music going
Oh
on, like
yeah.
people everywhere. Like take your time because you're about to sit on a bike for what 5-6 hours. Is that how long you
Yeah.
think that it's gonna take? Yeah. So like that's what you're gonna have to mentally prepare yourself for. Is like, dude, I just swam 2.4 miles in this lake. Now I got to go sit on a bike for 6 hours, and like when you get out there, like the first 10 miles is probably going to be a breeze. You're going to be like, dude, this is easy. Like, I've done this, blah, blah. And then you're going to get to mile like 65 and you're going to be like, shit, like I have not rode 65 miles
Just
very
halfway.
often.
Just
Yeah,
halfway.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, nutrition obviously is going to be huge for the bike because like that is going to be, a lot of time and a lot of energy. And you still have to save yourself some for the full marathon that you're about to run after that. So, you know, prepare your bike with everything you need. Do you have a like a bag or anything for an extra tube or
Oh yeah,
extra,
yeah, 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 yeah. I
yeah,
do have that, yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say like make sure,
I actually learned
that
how to
that
change the tire this weekend. Like I spent like an entire
there you
day
go.
just like changing the tire because I
Right.
was
Yeah,
like,
and that's
dude,
like
I've been stalling on it, but I was like, today's the day I'm gonna learn.
right. And there's no shame in that because I did the same thing before my race. I was like, like I've changed bike tires plenty of times, but it's like, what if I get out there and it's not as easy as I think, or like there's something different about this? So I literally took the inner tube off my bike and put it back on just to make sure, just like you get a calculator in math class, 2 + 2 = 4. All right, cool, it works, right?
Yeah,
Like,
no, for sure.
so no, but yeah, just like make sure that your nutrition is packed on the bike, everything you want to bring, your, electrolytes, your G1M Sport, whatever you want to throw in your bottles. And then your aid stations, they're gonna have bananas. Mine had
I was gonna say like in a 7.3, how many aid stations do you like remember passing by for the bike? Because that's gonna
um
make it like so much better. Like obviously I don't want to like stop and like dwell and be there for a long time because it is a far distance. But like the fact that it's like, oh, I'm just gonna take a quick, breather and then get back on.
yeah, so like I mentioned, the first one that I did, the full and the half were on the same course. So essentially the full just doubled everything that we did. Which would be like a mental game because the finish line, like they ran to the finish line, but then they had to run back out to finish like the other part of
Oh,
the hat. So I'm just you still have
yeah.
a whole nother half marathon in front of you. So, but the aid stations, let me think here. I want to say there was probably 4 or 5. So,
Okay.
assuming that, is it a 1 loop course or is it a 2 loop course? Do you know?
It's a one loop. It's on the freeway, so it's like outside of
Okay.
Houston, right? Like on like the loop of Houston, and it goes in the on a toll road, like going into downtown, not into downtown, but right before you hit downtown, and it comes right back. So it's like
Okay.
down back.
Yeah. I mean, I would probably say every, I don't know, 10, 15 miles, you'll probably pass an
Okay.
aid station. But the good part is, like, the aid stations, they have porta potties if you need them. Like I said, they'll have, like, the endurance Gatorades. I don't know if you've ever drank those before. They're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I guess
yeah.
they're higher in electrolytes or something like that. And then they got, like, soda, Fig Newtons, chips, like, a
Yeah,
lot of
so
stuff. But with the bike, which is different than running, like the running, you can either grab your stuff or keep going, or you can stop. Um, like people just keep riding by the aid stations on the bike, and they're like hold out bananas or Gatorades, and you kind of just grab it as you go by, and you keep riding, which is, I don't know, it's kind of weird, but yeah. So I mean, yeah, like
I don't
you
mean
can
to
stop if
laugh.
you want. No,
Yeah,
you're
I'm
good. Like you can
stopping, bro.
stop.
I'm stopping. I'm not about to, dude, because that's one thing that you do with the bike. Oh, like you're locked in, And I think about like I also take this into account how my legs will feel, like you said, when I'm at mile 80, you know, and it's like, dude, stop when you can. If you're just I don't want to say trying to get through it. This is already a big but so like you said, we're just trying to get a decent time. We're not going for you know as fast as we can, obviously. But it's like when you're locked in those clips, dude, you have to be paying attention. Like, there's no like I mean, the people who've done it for years and years probably can, but for people like us, I don't know if you agree, but you can't just like doze off like of like your train of thought. At least not me. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, who knows if there's like a little rock or like you said, I forget what it's called, but the passing thing, like I'm aware of that, drafting. Like, dude, I
Yeah.
have to be like, you know what I mean? My head has to be there too. So any
Right.
aid station, I'm definitely probably gonna use. You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, I would use them, but and again, like it's your race, run it how you think that you need to, but you're gonna probably realize like, hey, I can probably roll past this age, like still grab what you need, but like I don't think you would have to come to a full stop. Like it's a lot different than what you're think that it, unless you get mile 80. Like I've never rode 80 miles on a bike, so I don't know how that's gonna feel. But maybe you stop at mile 80, but like maybe mile 10 or 15, you kind of just roll by.
I
keep
kind of
going.
just roll by. Yeah, no, that makes sense. No,
But,
for sure.
yeah, and like that's another big thing with the drafting. Like think about it, but don't get too freaked out by it, if that makes sense. Like, people are gonna respect it, and if you go to pass somebody, like you're gonna have to commit to it. So there was one time, and I got so mad. Like I went to pass somebody, and I'm the middle of the pack guy, like whatever.
They sped up,
and they sped up, and I was like, what are you doing, dude? Like I've been chilling behind you for like 5 minutes, and we've been going the same speed, and I'm like trying to go around, and it's just like when you try to pass somebody in the car, and it's like they speed up. So,
hold on. Can you see me still?
Yeah, you're sideways now. Oh, you're good now.
Okay. Sorry about that.
But yeah, I was just gonna say, like with the bike, just have fun with it. I know that I went on a long tangent about the bike, but
no, that's good because I have zero questions about the run. Obviously, I'm gonna take my time through these transitions and stuff. I know you see the videos of people like getting it. Like, dude, one thing I'm going to do, like absolutely going to do, is put socks on. The people who ride their bikes without socks on are out of this world. I don't get it.
Yeah, and then they get all raw and like blistered up, and then like put your socks on. I don't get it.
Well, that's good,
I will
man.
say so like I said, I didn't swim in the second Ironman, but the first one, I think I spent 17 minutes in transition, and then the second one I spent like a minute and a half. So
okay,
but I didn't have to take my wetsuit off and all that.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm just trying to say is like, have fun with it. It'll be a blast.
I appreciate that. Yeah, man. Before we kind of close it out and stuff, I also wanted to ask, like, in your opinion, who do you think, or what do you think it was a combination of all? Because obviously, I'm sure they go through all the applications and stuff, like Austin was talking about on the ambassador call yesterday. But who do you think, I guess, targeted like me specifically, or not targeted, but like it was like, okay, we think this guy's a good candidate. If you had to guess.
Yeah, and obviously, like I wasn't in those meetings, like I don't know conversations that go on, but and we kind of talked offline. As I did recommend you to Austin, and I think and they talk about a lot, and you'll kind of pick up on it. Like they take ambassador recommendations like pretty seriously, because if they know that we are already in that mindset of the go more and like that type of stuff, and if we know better than they do who Nick is, who Zach is, who anybody is. And so I would say that, like, obviously a recommendation only goes so far, but what they do is they review your application, they review your social media. And my biggest thing is like, and I know that you have it from just talking to you, is like, are you a decent person? Which you check the box. And do you do you community is such a big part of BPN. It's like, why did you fall in love with it in the first place? Is community. Okay, well, why do you want to be on this side of the brand, like the ambassador side of it? And so I think that that's like, to kind of answer your question, is like, I think you check both of those boxes, and you're gonna realize like not everybody in there is a hybrid athlete. They're not 250 pounds running 6-minute miles. Like they're not Nick Bear, but they're specialists to their own person. And that is, I think that that's why, Nick and not Nick, Austin and Adam, probably looked at your profile and was like, this guy obviously follows the brand. You probably posted about it some way or another. But like they can probably just tell by the way that you interact with people, and that you're just generally a good person. And I think that that's what goes a long way. And they're kind of like the selection committee. But
I appreciate
that. Man.
Yeah, man, it's like I said, it's an honor. You have no idea. it feels good to be a part of the brand. And like I think I told you, I think this was try number 3. Obviously, there's been people that have tried even much more than myself, and haven't gotten it, or finally received it, whatever the case may be. But I think that when I think about what would have happened if I still didn't get accepted? Well, I would still be running this Ironman. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, I'd still be trying to do podcasts when I can. Like BPN is the sense of community that I've been longing for, the not. And when I say not the lifestyle, obviously the lifestyle, but I'm kind of already doing that. You know what I mean? And the
Yeah.
community aspect is what I think I crave more than anything, because I have like kind of isolated myself, even though I post, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. Like, I've not naturally, but unintentionally isolated myself due to training, because I'm so focused. I got this drive, I got this stuff, but I never had like people around me. I've always had good friends. What I mean? I don't not have good friends, but if I talk to my friends about, yeah, I ran 30 miles the other day, they're gonna be like, cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like,
Like, cool.
like I would never do that. So I'm like, I can't, I'm just extremely blessed to be able to join the community officially, to be able to, have those like-minded people just like not only in your corner, but like pushing you to my max potential and your max potential, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and it probably comes down to, excuse me, you played sports in high school, so you had that sense of community. Um, I've never been in your position with being in the military, but I'm sure that you found that in some way of community, like that sense of, the military, like the guys around you do the same job as you, they go through the same shit as you. And that's like the same way with BPN is like, like I said, there's going to be people that are interested in baking, but there's also people that are interested in Ironman training. So it's like you kind of gather that like sub community within the larger BPN community. And so I know that I'm pretty stoked to have you on board. And I think like going back to real quick, like when you said that this was your 3rd time trying, and I tried, I think 3 times as well. I think I tried for about a year and a half before I finally got it.
Yeah, I was gonna
But
say that's a year and a half, because I think the last time we did a podcast was like 6 months. So that was my second time.
okay.
Like, so I had applied before, like right before we got on the podcast, and then it was a no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I think that I just became an ambassador when we did the first one. So yeah, it's probably been roughly 6 months. But I think my biggest thing is like, and I mentioned this before, like I love when people reach out to me on Instagram, but I also like I get really frustrated when people just randomly DM me like, "Hey man, can you get me in to be a BPN ambassador?" It's like, no, like I don't know who you are, and like why do you want to be a BPN ambassador? Like just to have that title, or like do you actually care about what goes on within the community and like the people in there? And so that's why I, 100% recommended you, is because like obviously through the podcast and like through Instagram DMs, I'm like, all right, this dude has it, and like he's not just some random dude hitting me up like, hey man, can you get me in the door? Like, like I care about me at least,
Yeah, no, for sure. And I do, man. I do. I try to check in on you. I know you check in on me as well. And yeah, I just think it's like, again, so genuine. You can feel that, you know what I mean? Like, not just with you, but even like on one of my other podcasts, this girl named Erin, she went viral on TikTok for like a gym video of like this guy was like lifting weights. It was a friend of hers, and she was like, dang, that's a lot of weight. And he's like, not really. He's like, she basically like is like saying like, no, like to me, that's a lot of weight. Like, stop selling yourself short. You know what I mean? And
Right.
which is
Yeah.
kind of what we were talking about with like my marathon and with the Ironman and stuff. And it was just this viral TikTok. But other than that video, like that was it. Like, you know what I mean? She doesn't have like other videos where she's trying to be an influencer or nothing like that. And I just
Right.
reached out to her and said, just because of this video, I have to talk to you. You know what I mean? And we sat down, just like you and me, and had like a great conversation. And now we're like really, really good friends. She lives
Right.
in Florida.
Right.
You know
Yeah.
what I
And
mean?
I
Like,
live in
and it's
Kentucky, so
crazy.
it's like I live nowhere close.
Yeah. And I genuinely, like you said, I think I have been belong or longing for that community. Not that I couldn't find it. And I'm on podcasts. I hope I'm kind of a people person. But I think that, like I said, well, along with my focus and just things I got going on in my life, I didn't tell you too. This probably is even bigger news. I'm actually getting ready to make the transition out of the military this year.
Oh, really, man? Nice.
Yeah, so
Well,
that's even
I
more big news. And
well,
so like you said, that community, that like sense of belonging, because my job now really doesn't have that, unfortunately. Um, just I'm a safety man, so like we like kind of work independently. So
gotcha.
I've been longing that for a very long time, and then with training, and I could say kind of like depression. You know, if you feel like nobody understands you. So with training, I just kind of like nobody here gets me, and I think that's why we click so much. Because even if we're not talking about Ironman stuff, like you just kind of understand like the day to day and the hours that go into everything, and like you know what I mean, that focus, that discipline, and to have that community not only with you, but now with you know what I mean, the entire BPN team is beyond crazy, and I'm
Yeah,
so blessed for the opportunity.
yeah, man. Like I said, I'm happy that you're on board, and like I don't know, I'm stoked. When you asked me earlier to get on this podcast, I was like, hell yeah, like let's do it. I love podcasting. So
Yeah,
no,
man, and
dude.
you're getting better at it too. I could tell.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks, man.
you got the spice for it. Who knows, bro? Down the line, we could probably make it a duo thing. We'll see. Stay tuned, everybody.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Awesome, man.
For sure. But I don't want to take all your time, man. I appreciate it. Again, shout out to the whole BPN team. Shout out to my amazing guest, Zach. And just thank you guys for listening. If you're still here with us, we appreciate it. The
Yeah.
creatine, out of all the products, this is probably my favorite. Either creatine or the Go One More um, electrolytes. Uh, but do you have a favorite product that you use?
Yeah. So my favorite protein is the cinnamon roll. That's like my go-to. The new strawberry electrolytes. I love drinking those when I'm training. And then I don't know, have you tried the strong foods? I know it's kind of expensive, but have you tried
No,
that?
so I actually have, but um it was the green, and I actually like it. I really do.
Yeah.
And I'm be honest, you know, integrity first. It wasn't one that I ordered. I actually had a cousin of mine that had it, and it's not because like, oh, I'm not, you know what I mean, ever gonna order that, whatever case. But like you said, it is kind of expensive. So I make sure I have my foundation like creatine. I don't eat a lot of shake proteins anymore just because I'm pretty like strict on my diet. But I definitely do the electrolytes. When I did work out, the flight, like the pre-workout, I did use that too.
I was
But
gonna say
definitely down the line, we're gonna be doing the greens and the reds. But I enjoy it. I just it's hard. And just being quite honest, it's super hard because just actually seeing, you know, the effects, I guess you could say,
right.
you know. So
I was gonna say the endo pump is what I miss about the gym is drinking, 2 scoops of endo pump and just getting that pump going. So
yeah.
that's what I miss about, when I'm Ironman training. I'm like, man, I really want to go get a good pump in. So, sometimes we admittedly skip an Ironman workout so I can go get pumped. But
No, for sure.
oh
But
well,
all BPM products are top of the line. And yeah,
for
feel
sure.
free to reach out. I'm gonna put a link in the description below. Um Again, thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate y'all. Any final words, Zach?
Thanks for having me on. Obviously, hopefully we can get to do it again. I just I want to get on and if I'm not on before, after your Ironman and my Ironman, I want to make, another podcast. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish that I had this kind of interaction when I was first getting into the sport. So like, hopefully your audience liked it. But one final word is I'm not going to plug any of my stuff, but go to www.bpnsubs.com/Adam. Is that what your link is?
So with our Grin stuff, I don't know when I want this to come out. Because actually, like, we haven't got it set up yet. Like, they sent me the link, but they said they're not gonna finish it. I think in the email that came out like earlier this afternoon till Tuesday of next week.
Gotcha.
So,
All right. Well, use my link.
So-
No, I'm just kidding. No, but for sure, man. Let's get back on here and
do the trilogy,
do it
bro.
before,
Revenge of the Sith.
Right. Every 6 months,
We'll
I'll
call
just
it
go
that.
back up. Yeah, but I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank you guys. Make sure to keep proving yourself right and go one more.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
Zach, have a good night. Thank you, everybody.
All right, you too. Thank you.